really looking at accounts and everything. It's kind of early. I mean, still early.
Looks fun. I mean, we're tracking like we did last year at this time.
Numbers and everything.
Really? Yeah, so you're always 1 year delayed, or 1 year, your funding is based on last year's number. So when you're talking about revenue, you know, it's kind of what we predict.
So what's the it's WDE. It's WDE.edu.
There's nothing on there.
Well,
Did you get some receipts into it?
what?
Did you include?
I've got two transactions that have been approved. One deal. And then some actually done chase and 60 cents last year. And then we're done. I don't know. Yeah, it's in there somewhere. Yeah, so I think we're just stopped. And so I don't know what it is. Yeah, the reason why I think Pops is done.
Cargo.
Yeah.
They kind of put the tickets or they do it.
Pops had an incomplete or a less than total.
So I think we're done with that. But
Your meeting on
I've got,
expectations?
I've got to get those two. One-
Yeah.
So
We're down to
what had
next.
happened was just, one was like the 29th or
Last
so
year it
of
was
July.
Pearl.
One was like the 3rd of August. So it's about a month. And they haven't sent
You guys did.
the documentation.
Right, right.
Yeah, so after this week, we'll be
So if it's 8:30,
Is it just
I'll be on.
even in the meeting, it won't take us but a minute. But if you'll see that,
Yeah, it's fine.
they don't have any section tonight.
So the most popular.
They
Well,
don't have any interviews tonight. So,
I asked her.
well, I'm just looking at this.
Figure out a date.
Okay,
This week.
I don't know.
it should
So
really,
keep that track.
There's a couple
Yeah, I
places
think we
where
have 3 equal choices in the
Yeah.
I promise not to say.
depends on how long the meeting is.
Yeah.
Minute can keep it short. It's just losing your voice.
Yeah, my voice isn't gonna hold out much. At this point.
You are the missing link.
What areas did you?
You know, the high school.
I can talk fast.
Are you doing anything on the current files?
Yeah, 'cause you have
I did a memo, just a,
He has a little bit of facial, so this could be, he could be the missing link between us getting out of here.
I did a memo on the meetings today. And it was, here's what I'm seeing, or that's basically walking to the same things. What do I want?
Besides white off, those,
You know, no one's done their,
Touchscreen.
you got a touch screen?
Touchscreen.
Jared likes me. It's been awful nice. I told him it wasn't fair that everybody was sitting here at board meetings with a laptop and I'm sitting here
Oh,
going,
yeah.
okay, I
No,
can
the
sort of
worst-
listen to them
the
talk
worst
about it.
is Peter Alley down there. And believe me, they're,
Nothing happened to this.
nothing happens to do with school.
I mean,
I've
you're just looking
seen-
at some pretty cool things online last week. And I think
Yeah, so, and by the way, I'm not.
wow, we are.
Yeah, that's not. I started at 5:30, just in case I had to let you that, I'm not there.
So how is all that?
Oh, it's really good. It's so nice to be involved and be a part of that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean,
You are,
right.
and very important to be involved.
I was totally,
You goes, how about you?
So,
you sit in your corner and you'll be fine. So,
and keep your transfer station.
yeah, it's really nice to be a part of everything.
So, yeah, that's a, you know, it's a lot like, companies don't have, it just, there's really big areas. Sometimes they say, okay, we're gonna go around just to the directors, and, you get to, get your piece of everything. Sometimes it's, like, what I've noticed in the last weekend is probably a little bit more restructuring than we've had in the past.
Just be able to give it
Yes.
this to be simple.
Well, my difficulty is that I genuinely, I don't have to set the time. I have set this on pay one pay time. In other words, what they get done, I can't do 15 minutes late.
But I think you can really the issue.
Yeah, the big thing is I keep documenting.
That's a big smile.
So, yeah, so that's a very typical,
Oh, no, just
you
to
know,
see.
holiday. The idea is, if you have issues, it's a forum for you to talk to, see how you help or, somebody said, hey, we want this service or technology or business.
Meeting at
It's been a fun start, other than getting really sick.
Yeah, it wasn't, I wasn't last week. She was on it. Well, oh, well, she's probably out.
And I mean, I was out in schools Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but by Thursday, I couldn't speak hardly at all.
Well, no, it's on the weekend. So,
Yeah, so yeah, I was home Thursday, Friday,
Did you get transition? Your transition year, you got your dinner.
yes, I mean, I might need a if you know a good tech person who can help me out, this house it's got built-in surround sound, and
where are you at?
I'm in the townhouses over by the high school. Those new ones. But yeah,
Right next to the.
Hey.
right next to
Yeah.
okay.
The marquee side.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, my son-in-law is tech savvy. Look, I was this morning, but I'm great.
Oh, I'm stressing, my computer's not behaving. And I gotta have it. Jared? I don't like the servers
Is it?
It's like freezing up and very delayed, which means my typing could be affected. Not excited. Huh? I finally got into Word docs. Finally got into Google to get my minutes changed to type on, so.
Let's make sure they can say.
It's like kids, you know, you don't like them, it's theirs.
Why is it doing that?
As soon as I started at 5:30.
Did you get that?
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
I did the same thing last year.
Yeah, well, I just thought, okay. I tried to fill out things like that information.
But I didn't hear you.
It's all on the 16.
It's
Times it's take care of that.
Okay, so here's the issue of and it
That's
has
it, that's it.
had since 6:30. Okay, and then they
Dave
add that to the previous accidents. And then,
I don't know if they don't.
let's say we had an accident in March.
Huh?
That really surprised me because Brent did some stuff, but
I just need to fill out, so.
just last year.
Yeah, it's just last year. If we got everything, then I just. So.
When I go on, Oh, that thing, I could get her out. Yeah, I know, right? Okay, oh, yeah, yeah, so that's. Well, then you just have to, yeah, exactly.
Is that just kids or all?
Yeah.
How's your son, Jenny?
He's good. Awesome.
Got a picture.
It's good to have him home.
I'll bet.
All right.
Hey, Jaren. Jaren. Terrible. I lived too far out of town to run home.
I already turned it in.
No, don't forget it. Okay, hot. Turn the heat up? That sounds great. It's telling me on the guest.
No, I didn't.
Like, are you going for my candy? You gonna have it?
I already did. This chair, give us some.
Oh, good idea. Good, how are you, Joe? Oh, thank you. What's that? Okay, Sheila, can I just tell you how much I loved your mommy?
You don't need a nap.
Editorial, seriously? That was my life. But you forgot to say, when's the last time you actually went to the bathroom by yourself? Or with the door shut, right? Because it's not even worth it. Yes. Well, the bad thing is, you get so used to doing that and leaving it open that you do it in public.
You start to forget what it's like to have privacy, and then you go places where you probably should be. And
Yeah, like I walk into the stall and like totally not shut the door because the kids are gonna pound on it, right? It's like, yes, this is my life. And I'm not the only one that's done that. I know for a fact.
yes.
All right, we are at the witching hour. We have been in executive session. I need a motion to adjourn an executive session and convene an open session. So moved. Motion by Jenny, second by Dave. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. Now we can start the real good stuff.
Yes.
We need, I think, a motion first.
We need to put that in order.
Oh, yeah, we're saying the pledge. Thank you. Keep me on track. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Now I think we're ready for a motion to amend tonight's agenda first.
Madam Chairman, I move that we amend the agenda by adding an executive session at the end.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second by Caleb. Any discussion on the motion, other than we didn't get everything done we needed to?
Right.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is now amended. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. Motion by Jenny,
Second.
Second by Kay. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, and I don't have my agenda even up yet. What's next?
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda, thank you.
Minutes, payment of bills, and activities.
Yes. Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which has the payment of the bills and the activities?
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second?
A second by Jenny. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I need to abstain from approving check number 110153 to Two Guys Flooring in the amount of $175, and check number 110187 to Two Guys Flooring in the amount of $14,570.
Thank you, Cassie. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, and the abstentions as noted by Ms. Torres. Okay, we are now on to, well,
School report.
yes, school reports. I'm getting there. See, there I am. School reports. Who's on the agenda for tonight?
They're on their way up.
I see Diane and Shad. Okay.
Chairman and board, and board members, okay. I just want to thank the staff at North Elementary, both certified and support staff, for the work that they have done to get the school, get their classrooms ready and to work with the kids. A lot of time was spent before school even started, many hours after. We had those contract days, we were there, and they have really done a good job. As well as, I would like to recognize our custodial staff. We had quite a few new hires, but we also had 13 classrooms moved.
It's a lot of work for those teachers.
Teachers boxing it all up, but the custodial staff of getting those moved, and to my knowledge, I don't think we lost anything. So, yes, or anyone. Yeah.
People moving rooms.
You know, especially since summer academy was at North Elementary, that we couldn't officially do a lot of the moving until after that was over. And I think we ended on a Thursday. By Monday afternoon, every class materials were in those classes, ready for the teachers to be put up. So kudos to Mr. Hutchinson, Mako, and Jason Aldridge, and those that came over to help for what they have done.
That's great. I did see a lot of frantic teachers saying, I'm moving my classroom. So
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to thank you guys for letting me report about Horizon again. We're off to an exciting start. I think as a community, if you drive by the school, you might notice a hexagonal thing going on out there. I had some parents ask me if those were monkey bars. They're not monkey bars. It's a greenhouse, and it's the project that we talked about last spring. They ran into a snafu with the cover. It's the material was not up to par, and so they had to reorder the cover. So they'll be back in a couple weeks to finish it. Our students have helped build that. We're going to build the door and then put the cover on it, and then it'll be functional. So that was an exciting project to start off our school year with. We started that about third day in. Also very excited to report our numbers are up at Horizon. I think we have 55 students, 62 enrolled. There's some that aren't there yet, and they're coming. So we're excited about that. The new staff, I think, is really exciting to work with, really positive. And I'm super excited to report Friday, I got a student meeting that I do with the students on Mondays and Friday. And Friday I recognize the students just for perfect attendance for the first week of school. And I kind of do that, I mean, weekly. But we had 30 students with perfect attendance the first week of school. And that's quite an accomplishment for our students. So that's an awesome way to start the year. So, yeah.
And thank you for recognizing them. I think that's an incentive.
So I think we're off to a good start.
Thank you.
I just have a little report from Aspen Elementary, Madam Chair and members of the board. We had our Stripes the Tiger appeared at Aspen Elementary today for our back-to-school assemblies, which was super fun. Mr. Pete Brina here is in the back, and we also have a video made that hopefully you'll get to check it out. It's kind of embarrassing, but Mr. P did some flossing as part of the video, and so that was super fun.
Is that going to be part of the campaign, Gary?
I think it ought to be. I think everyone would vote for him that has voted for someone else in the past. They would swing their vote Gary's way. But students are super excited. Teachers are excited as well. We have 10 new employees at Aspen, and so that's a lot of fun. And the regular staff has just been so good to welcome them in, teach them up, and train them. It's always a trick because we don't want there to be a guessing game on every little thing for our new teachers and so and new staff members. So we're all working together to train them up and teaching them the lingo and so that they know what's going on. But like I said, students are super happy and excited. The school year's off to a great start, and like I said, Stripes the Tiger appeared at the school, and so we had a lot of fun today teaching and rehearsing the rules and everything. So
I want the video of Mr. Pibrian.
So I'm pretty sure it's going to be on YouTube soon. So anyway, you'll be able to check it out.
And for those watching, you didn't see the demonstration we just got here in the room. It was great.
Yeah, sure. So thank you.
You guys are fighting over who gets to go next?
Well, I'm going to go ahead because it'll save a lot of time. You know, Chris, we've been teasing him. Just wanted to thank everybody. We've got the renovations are coming close to being done. This concrete will be done hopefully this week for the volleyball tournament, and so everything's coming together.
Do we get furniture yet?
No, that'll be mid-October-ish.
Okay.
So a little later than we had hoped for. But anyway, thank you to the board for supporting us in that, and especially wanted to thank the custodians district-wide who did so much work. You know, Diane talked about moving 12 rooms. We literally moved every room and every closet and everything, and it took just a tremendous amount. So really appreciative to all the folks who worked so hard this summer.
What's been the response of the students?
They've loved it.
To the lunchroom changes?
Yeah, they've loved it, and I can't wait till they see the new furniture. I wish it would have all kind of come together at once, but it's going to be like Christmas again for them when they see all of that. Yeah, so that'll be another fun boost to them. So, but they really like it. They like the open concept. If you go through our lunches right now, there's so much more space for everybody to just kind of relax and stuff, which is great. So anyway, a couple new things, new schedule. It's going pretty well. Mixed, you know, I talk to kids. Most like it. A couple of them are like, well, I don't like this part of it. And we know there's going to be some little glitches like that, but overall it's going well.
My daughter says, Mom, I have an unexcused absence. I forgot which class I was supposed to go to.
Yeah, and some of them had 2 lunches. You know, they went to both lunches. So those little things are going to get ironed out, but they're doing well. The teachers, it's the adults that struggle the most. It's all of it, you know, so kids are doing awesome. One thing that we didn't expect is I thought we would start the year around 740 kids. We're at 796.
Wow.
So we're up substantially. So class sizes are larger. We have a lot of class sizes, 29, 30. And so we're pretty maxed out in a lot of areas, but it's a great thing to have, you know, that number of kids. So we're starting out quite a bit bigger. We actually got up to 804. And so now we're just kind of playing right around that 800 mark right now. So
that's great.
So anyway, thank you.
We got to 548 again, huh?
I don't know.
We'll see.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Chris Brown, Davis Middle School. I just wanted to, we had the opportunity this summer to have the school board and the school board treat with principals. And then you've been working with the superintendent on the pathway to excellent, and you as a board have set goals around social and emotional development of students, a focus on life skills. So I just wanted to take a minute to report to you what Davis Middle School specifically, and I know every school, but what Davis is doing as far as building citizenship, working around PBIS, positive behavior initiatives, anti-bullying, healthy living, and accountability. So every month at Davis Middle School, the students by grade level meet with me in what's called Principal Power. And as the school year starts, they've already met with me 2 or 3 times in some initial training. But the idea is that every student knows our school goals, the 7 school goals, but that as well they set a personal goal of what they can do to make Davis Middle School the place to be. Set a goal to rise to the next level, so the idea of citizenship. Then on PBIS, that every student at Davis Middle School with the office staff and support staff over the last 6 days have been trained on what are our expectations in the halls, in the office, in the bathrooms. We had 2 buses there for 2 days. What are the expectations on buses? In our lunchroom, in our auditorium, in our gym, in our pool. And then today, I met with all 3 grade levels, where we completely went through the standard response protocol, so they know what do we do in a lockdown, in a lockout, in an evacuation, in a shelter, in a hold situation. As far as anti-bullying, every year we purchase a book for every homeroom teacher. Last year it was Restart, about a boy named Chase who fell off his roof and had amnesia, and as he comes around he recognizes people are treating him really weird because he was a school bully, and he has to come to terms with that. So allows all students in their homerooms to have a discussion around bullying. That is something that we have a 0 tolerance for. And then healthy living, that last year EMS and DMS invited New York Times bestselling author Jason Wright to come and share. Every student got a copy of his book, The 17-Second Miracle, with the idea that what are we doing each day to do daily acts of kindness. And then finally, on your idea of accountability, before school started, about 2 weeks before school started, every student at Davis Middle School who had below a 3-point GPA last year had to meet with the principal and their parents and set a goal. So if they had 4 C's last year, that needs to be 2 this year. If they had 10 C's, it needed to be 5. If they missed more than 10 days, whatever that number was, they needed to cut that in half, and what were they going to do that? And if they had 1 major behavior referral, why was that, and what do we do to make sure that that doesn't happen again? So I want you to know that those goals that you're setting as far as emotional and social, all of our schools are working really hard to address.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Mr.
thank you.
Brown. That's part of our safety plan too, so thank you.
I needed to come up after Chris. Madam Chair, members of the board, just want to say that we did our best also this year to make sure that the students knew exactly what the concerns are out there as far as public, as far as board, as far as we have within the school, and went through the safety programs, but also spent the week, as Chris said, working on establishing the be kind, be responsible, be respectful, and the expectations under each one of those. We too had the buses there. We taught. We had, I would say, many groups of 25 students that we brought through and went to each part of the building and talked to them about what it meant to be safe, be responsible, and respectful. And then at the end, we had a Kahoot game where they were able to compete against one another and see who could answer the most correct and the quickest, and it was fun for the kids to actually go through and do that. One of the things I want to mention is this year I had an idea given to me by a teacher, and the first day of school I'm always out talking to the students and the parents and such. This time we decided to be a little more crazy. I convinced more teachers to get out there with me, and we did a Kiss Your Mama campaign. campaign. And it was great because we had signs out. The students started with the signs, then teachers took over the student signs, and we're up at each car. And having the students kiss their mama goodbye, or their dad, or their sister. We got a few sisters involved. And it was a lot of fun. And it started the year off right. It started the day off right. They were excited. They appreciated their families and appreciated being welcomed in that manner. So we'll probably have to try to continue the Kiss Your Mama tradition. It might be something different every year, but it was a lot of fun.
Thank you. You got teenagers to kiss their mom. That's pretty good. Thank you. I like those school reports. That's awesome. All right, we're down to our discussion items, and it looks like we have an enrollment update first on the agenda.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I knew I was going to do the enrollment update, so I'll also add my back to school. We've had a great 3 weeks already, starting with our new teachers 3 weeks ago. We have over 30 new teachers, and most of those are new to the profession. So we're very excited about the energy, enthusiasm, and the knowledge and experience that the new staff brings. Also, we had 2 days of training 2 weeks ago now. Tim Brown and I'm going to forget her name. Jan Haig. They're the best and the brightest with PLCs. Got a little warm in the machine shop, but to have all the staff, certified staff, receiving the same training on the same days is pretty impressive. So hats off to those who organized that, and also our staff for the hard work they put in. And we're 1 week down. The first week of school went very well. With that, after 1 week of school, today we are roughly 100 students up, which is exciting. You know, we are up anyway. Our enrollments were up, allow us our budgets to have some flexibility. But we're 50 kids up from the beginning of school last year, and about 100 kids up from the end of school last year. These are ADM counts. In 5 days, we'll get a better picture of how many kids on the 10-day drop. So we do have some kids that haven't showed up yet. But that is really, really good news. The other part of news that I think is really good is I look at the numbers distributed across our 4 elementaries. Our class sizes are very, very good. We do have still one bulge. We only have 2 sections in Clark, and the bulge is 26 in those 2 classrooms average, but others are very, very reasonable and very quality numbers. So we're excited about the enrollment starting the school year. Hopefully we can keep them, and we just keep seeing more and more kids come. But we're above 2,800 students for the first time in, I think, 5 years.
That's great.
So we'll just keep our fingers crossed that goes to 2,900 by the end of the school year. So that's my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the board's strategic plans and district goals.
Let me plug in. We'll just review this quickly.
And I know you were going to make some tweaks for us.
Yes. So we just finalized it today with the administrators.
You need Alexa. You just, say, Alexa, turn it on, and then everything comes on.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
That will go on. So we've made really no changes or updates to our vision and mission statements, even though it's time. This is the 3rd year we've had these vision and mission statements, and with our work with PLCs, we've learned a lot about what we should be about as an organization. Number one, when you see, when we talk about the highest quality of education for all students, now what we're really focusing on is the highest quality of education for all, including our staff. And in terms of our mission statement, I think it was 3 years ago it picked up where we left off, and now we know a lot more about what a PLC is, collaboration, what we need to do to get that guaranteed and viable curriculum. So next year we'll probably redo our vision and mission, realign it with our high reliability schools work. I have to stumble through that at least once every time I say high reliability schools. Our core values, we worked on these together, made some tweaks. If you notice the second bullet in safety, that was one of the tweaks we made.
Right.
Behavior expectations, identified top model, and all held accountable.
Which is what Mr. Brown was
Yes.
reporting
And all
on.
the schools are focusing on that, the 3 Bs, our PBIS work, and the idea of, I think it said something before about being in handbooks. Now we need to make sure that our students, our staff, and our parents understand what are expected behavior. The respect and responsibility, very little changes to those. And these are our core values. The board goals, we didn't make, I think you've seen these since the last time you edited them. The only change that's up there is on the 4th bullet down. All schools certified in higher liability schools level 2, every teacher in every classroom by May 2021. Originally, we set it at 2020, which would have been next year.
I thought that was ambitious.
Working with our administrative team, they've made it pretty clear that we'd rush through it to get it done. And we need to take the time on level 2. If we take the appropriate amount of time on level 2, level 3 will follow right along. And so we'll meet the goal that's right below it of 2022. I have great confidence in our administrators. If they tell me we need a little more time, we need a little more time. It doesn't mean we're going to rest since we're now level 1 certified. It means we are going to push forward. Level 2, if you go through it, if you click on that link, there's some things that we're not doing well that we need to spend a lot more time on. There's some things that we don't do right now that we need to spend some time on and do it right. So that's why the date changed. We will definitely, in May 2020, give you a report of where we are with level 2. So we'll let you know where we are and the progress we've made. Hopefully by the end of this school year, we'll have everything in place that in another year, we'll be able to be certified. So those are the goals. Also, the 5th bullet is the focus that the board spent a lot of time on, and I think you heard Mr. Brown mention that we've focused on it as a team. The idea of life skills, which is citizenship, positive behavior supports, anti-bullying, healthy living strategies, accountability, which for students, parents, and staff. Our schools are great places. We need to make sure that we keep them that way, and we're a lot more than reading, writing, and math. We have to make sure the social skills or life skills are taught, modeled, and people are held accountable if they're not meeting those expectations. So that was a pretty, I think, serious discussion that the board had on their goals. Any questions, comments, changes about the board goals?
No, thank you. I think they're a little more concise, which is what we had asked your team to do. And thank you for focusing on what we discussed at the retreat. I mean, I think this board has said it. I will say it again. When we were going through the policy-making process of CKA, one of the things that we felt strongly about was that component, the 5th bullet there on board goals. That it wasn't just about one thing, it was about using all the tools you can possibly use. And so I'm thrilled to hear both middle school principals talk about how they've implemented that and how that's working. So that was a big deal to us.
I can tell you of all those goals, the hardest to present evidence will be the 5th one.
Sure.
In terms of evidence to show the progress we're making, but even that, I think, is a commitment on my part, is I will express where we are and the work that needs to be done after the school years.
But we hear certainly from community members and from students in those schools about how they're feeling and how that's working, and that's kind of the feedback we get. So I anticipate that will be the case.
Okay. The district goals, very similar. Again, I think the commitment is to stay the path with higher liability schools work. We're seeing change and good change. So our accountability is that we meet or exceed all of the data accountability system. We can take no other path. It's meet or exceed in all the areas by 2020. We have received some reports, and we haven't, they're still embargoed. Next month, we'll share them with you in terms of where we are with our accountability scores.
So last year's scores we
Yes.
still don't get? Usually we get them about this time of year.
They're embargoed, but we've got them. And honestly, I haven't even looked at them yet.
Okay.
And so we'll look at them, put them together, and we'll share that for the board next meeting. I think the parents will receive them earlier, the schools will receive them earlier, which is a good movement. Instead of having them later in the school year, we're getting them earlier. So now we know, we'll learn how to use them. The instruction, you can see by 2022, is that we're certified levels 1, 2, and 3. So with the timeline of 2021 for level 2, I believe we can reach this goal. We may be even able to move it up, but
No, that's realistic.
Till later. Our attendance will still be the focus of the importance of attendance. And we'll still emphasize really the categories of what is a chronic attender, poor attendance, I guess, chronic attendance pattern, and what we can do to inform parents of what it takes to have a positive attendance pattern. I believe it's having an impact. I think the discussions are a lot easier to have once you've explained to parents that we understand that there are things that come up, but it's important that they're at school. And it's an indicator, if you get over this number of absences, your child is going to struggle regardless of their abilities. And they're not going to get what they need. So we've changed that goal a little bit. And then behavior is more focused on what the board talked about in terms of their expectations. That we identify positive behavior and hold people accountable to that. The critical commitments, we spent some time with the administrative team really to have this aligned to high reliability schools work. Also, the point of this strategic plan is to honor what we've done in the past, but move forward as rapidly as we can. So you'll see things that will seem, you should remember that this is work we've done and we're going to continue it, we're just getting better. So the challenging guaranteed viable curriculum will be identified and used by instructional staff. Our delayed start Mondays will help us with that, and we're moving forward. Effective teaching in every classroom is actually the title of level 2. So these correspond with what is a little bit of level 2 in the high reliability schools. The last bullet, continual improvement is directed by effective leaders, evaluations, and professional development are all aspects of that level 2. You can see we've moved to RTI to stay closer to what's actually is working in our state and what's linked to the the PLC work. We're still 100% behind data and the need, and we need to get better at using data and helping our kids and our teachers and all of us improve.
That's part of the assessment work that everybody's doing, yeah.
And then, of course, it's key to have a strong administrative team. We encourage our students to have effort. Unfortunately, sometimes they get out of it what they put into it, and we need to be able to motivate kids to give a little more, try a little harder. And all kids. I think that's the key that you'll see. It's about the learning, not the teaching. I think that's kind of the shift we've had. Staff development that is job embedded, encourages collaboration and is growth specific. And then our non-negotiables. We treat everyone with dignity and respect. We work in collaborative teams. We are professionals working in professional organizations. Student learning is our focus and priority.
Yes. And we're are we adopting these tonight?
You are.
Yeah. Thank you. Does anybody have any comments or changes or?
No, that's good.
No. Thank you guys, everyone who worked on it it's cleaned up nicely.
That's all I have.
Thank you. All right. Procurement policy is up next. Is that you as well?
Yeah, let me, my computer's about ready to die, so I'm gonna plug in. I can actually do that from over here. I think your power strip's turned on.
It is. It's just really acting up.
Okay, well, I'm going to go. As you know, we receive draft policies from Wyoming school boards, and this one came through as an update to the procurement policy that we have. It is closely linked to our food service department, and so this one would take over several other policies. Also, which is I've never seen, is the Wyoming Department of Ed also chimed in with this policy and made some suggested changes. So what you have in your documents is you have Copenhaver's draft policy, and then you have the one that says Susan's suggestions. She's a member of the the Wyoming Department of Ed, in charge of that. I've had John begin working on this. This is not only food purchasing,
right?
it's actually all purchasing. Yeah, we put a letter that kind of explains where we're going with this. This is just a discussion item to let you know that we will be developing a draft policy for next month to approve at reading, but it will change at least potentially change 4 or 5 other policies dealing with purchasing. The whole point of the Department of Ed's comments and updates and corrections, additions, is to keep school districts out of federal problems. So,
I mean, this ties to the money the federal money that we get for our food programs.
yes, and purchasing in general.
And the special revenue, okay. Pros and cons, I mean, right now we have a policy, obviously, they're suggesting that we update it based upon recent trends. Are there pros and cons? And John?
One of the things that is mentioned in there is that the state legislature has changed some procurement levels. And so Copenhagen, out of one of the school boards, has said, okay, we're going to give you a model policy. And then he rolled in a bunch of different areas. And I think, okay, it's probably time to overhaul.
Just do a global overhaul of everything.
It's been...
and that's what you talked about, not just food, but everything.
Yeah, we've, and it's kind of, we have guidelines in place on purchasing. One of the ones that I think you're all familiar with, anything over $10,000, the board approves, unless it deals with major maintenance money or something that's already been bid, and there's another one too, but...
utility type.
Yeah, utility type purchases. If that's something the board wants to continue, typically it's to $25,000. That's what the state recommends. I've never seen it where it slowed us down because we try to get ahead of it and get it approved before we need those things purchased. But at the time, the board felt that there need to be checks and balances. And so that's why that policy was developed back in 2009.
So it's really, for us as a question is, do we want to keep that threshold at 10,000? Or do we want to give you guys more wiggle room at 25,000 like they're recommending?
Yes.
That's a policy
and those are
question
things that a local board has control over, and I haven't gone through it enough to know what the recommendation will be. I know why, what events caused the $10,000 approval, and I don't think we've had those issues for many, many years, maybe because everything's approved at $10,000. But that's just one of the things that I noted is potentially a pro or a con based on what the board wants.
And I will note, and you said it, I think, Ryan, is that I can't say that it really has stopped the procurement process or made it overly cumbersome to have it at a $10,000 threshold.
Yeah.
I mean, some may disagree, but...
Well, you guys are aware that every once in a while, we'll have to come at a meeting and say, you need to approve this contract now, instead of having it at a board meeting previously, because...
But that's pretty rare.
Yeah, it has been rare, but it could happen again. I guess as long as you guys are okay that we always try to give you the information a month ahead and then you approve it a month later, but every once in a while we've missed those. But like I said, that's been the only hesitation about a $10,000 approval.
Okay.
It just gets into the fact that everything's more expensive. You may be approving a lot more items at a $10,000 limit as compared to a competitive bid for $25,000.
So if we come up with a global one that changes our EFA and our Ds and our,
Yes.
what other letter of the alphabet that we've got, I mean,
Yeah.
that's several different sections.
Yeah.
Where do we stick it? Do we stick it as a D? Do we stick it in E? Where do we put it?
I think you keep it as EFA.
Okay.
It's fine. There's one that I looked at and said, that one, the food service policy probably needs to be rescinded.
That's EFA.
Because the other one supersedes it. I mean, every count. The other thing that I noticed was that the procurement Copenhagen is saying, hey, you need to centralize how you were doing the bid process, which we have been a little bit more decentralized. We have, for instance, when we go out for bid, we go to the maintenance, and maintenance opens up the bid and things. They're talking about having the bid open up, here every single time. And I thought, well, gosh, do we really want that? So that's some of the issues.
Okay.
How much do you want it to be, centralized? Whereas, okay, if it's a transportation bid, we have always just kind of worked it out.
I mean, if it's gonna be transportation, they really put together the request for proposal. Same with maintenance, same with whatever department is doing it. They're generally the ones that put out the RFPs.
I think this just funnels it through one individual again, and it'd be John.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not sure he needs that much.
in terms of maintenance, they still have to put the specs together for those bids and
Okay.
still do so does transportation.
Well, and that was gonna be the question is,
But
if
they
you're gonna
flow through
centralize it, is it one person putting out all the RFPs and one person opening the bids?
One
Okay.
person opening the bids, probably.
And it's almost it's implying that it's one person putting the bids together, although.
Because that's a full-time job.
It would be burdensome.
Yeah, that's a whole new job.
And so, as you read through, again, look for the big policy issues that are there, but we're trying to also at the same time look at how does this apply? How would we go about doing,
So what I see happening here is coordination of all these policies, and I said EFA. EFA probably needs to go away. EFAB would be the main
We'll come up
policy.
with some new letter
Yeah,
combination.
and
but
then the
it's
D
just one
policies,
spot.
you just add EFAB also.
Or
And
just
then
say
change the
see
wording.
here.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's time that we update these. It'll be a significant amount of work to coordinate all these, but
Yeah.
just want to let you know that's what we're taking on.
Okay, that's a big bite. And then we have, last on discussion is the Western Wyoming Food Co-op Agreement.
And Linda's on her way up.
Fantastic.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Board. Tonight, I just wanted to give you a little insight into what the Western Wyoming Food Co-op is. It began 5 years ago with Green River and Star Valley. The two of us got together and decided that in order to procure larger amounts of product at a cheaper price, it would be wise if we combined together. So we started with 7 districts, and now with Evanston joining, we have now got every single district on this end of the state, which I'm extremely proud of, that we've got 11 districts that we're working with. To give you a little idea, I just went through about 22 items and compared the pricing that this district got last year to what the pricing is this year, and the average was over $4.29 cheaper with the co-op.
Wow.
So we're going to see a significant change.
So that 150,000 that we're always running in the red in food services, we may be able to bring down?
We will bring it down. There's no may about it. We will bring it down for sure. That's definitely a goal of mine. We can bring that down significantly. So I'm already seeing some big changes. So the agreement is just an agreement that the co-op decided we needed to have between all the districts to ensure that everybody was participating. Putting together the bid, as you can imagine, I used to put together a bid for myself, and now I put together a bid for 11 districts. So it's a much bigger scale, and so I need everybody's assistance in order to have that happen. So we determined that it made sense to have a co-op agreement in order to ensure that everybody's participating.
So this is just an interlocal cooperative agreement, basically, where the institutions are agreeing to cooperate with each other. Okay.
Yep.
And this is something that the superintendent just signs, it doesn't need board approval, I don't.
No, and I was going to ask, I originally thought, well, I'll just have the board approve it in October, but as I've looked through it, it's more just a cooperative, we'll work together. I was going to sign it unless you want to approve it next month.
I don't, does anybody feel strongly that the board needs to approve it?
No.
I don't, I think this is something you do.
Go ahead. Do it.
Okay.
And thank you.
You bet. My pleasure.
Okay.
Okay, public comments. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment? Yes.
I'm Shelley Pieperingen, and I live at 112 Freedom Drive. And I missed the discussion last month that you had on art education. But I read about it in the newspaper and thought, okay, this idea that I've been running through my brain for a long time here in the district, I thought it might be time to share it. As I've listened to everybody's goals and things that you have, elementary schools. The introduction to the Wyoming State standards for performing fine and performing arts reads, standards ensure that all students in Wyoming receive a uniform and consistent art education. There are specific standards for visual arts in K through 2, K through 4, 5 through 8, and so forth. They're specific to visual arts, not just all arts. So they are specific, and our district is not reaching those. As a matter of fact, I did a little math today, and I thought our students can actually graduate from high school with only 2/4 of formal art education, and those would be at our middle school, 6th and 7th grade. That's the only time it's required of them to take the fine arts. In high school, they can take fine arts, but their music could count for that. So they don't have to take that then, and in 8th grade they get to choose their electives, and so they don't have to take art then either. So in my calculating the math, that was about 68 hours that a student in their 13 years gets 68 hours of art education, which is about 1% of their education. And I sent an idea to Superintendent Thomas and Dr. Ingalls last Friday. They may not have had a chance to look it over, but about an idea to implement art in the elementary schools. I realize it's not big, and as a matter of fact, it wouldn't quite double the time, but nevertheless, I believe it could facilitate. Sorry, I'm too nervous.
No, I want to hear the idea.
I realize it could facilitate greater integration of the district's curriculum with the state's elementary visual standards, as well as aid teachers at the elementary level to expose our students to more visual arts. Eric Jensen has a PhD in human development and uses brain research and with his teaching background to develop practical applications for educators. And he has a book called, let's see if I can remember it. I can't remember the title, sorry. But in it, he says, the arts enhance the process of learning. The systems they nourish, which include our integrated sensory, attentional, cognitive, emotional, and motor capacities, are in fact the driving forces behind all other learning. In this district, you've hired companies and specialists to assist in professional development, literacy and math coaching, and even to perform surveys and compute results. Hiring an elementary art educator who could go to every classroom once a month for a 35 to 45-minute art lesson, that is linked to the core subjects would be a minimal expense with maximum impact.
You think one person could get it all done in all the elementaries?
I do. It could, because it could add power to a lesson by addressing other senses and parts of the brain so students can have greater affinity with the subject. Art also has the value of having no wrong answers, so it naturally can help children feel successful and ease anxiety as they express themselves, developing their sense of self-worth and confidence needed to succeed in school and life. Art develops creativity, motor skills, and problem solving, all skills used to master future study in other fields with greater depth. It could also prepare students for formal art classes in middle school and high school, so teachers there could help their students grow faster and stronger without having to focus so greatly on the foundations of art. I know of in St. George, they had a grant that allowed them to hire an art teacher, and she taught at 3 schools, 3 elementary schools. their population was greater than ours. And she taught, the idea was to reach each classroom once a month. She said that some schools were more cooperative with it, and she was able to do it, but she found that there were some disadvantages from here to there. But I have looked at this over the schedules. I don't know, I'm not as familiar with the elementary schedules at all the schools, but I think easily a teacher could teach 4 to 6 lessons a day at the elementary schools, which would...
We used to do it that way, you know, where we have one person rotating with the specials kind of thing.
But you've got a curriculum already in place with STEM in the science for the special teachers. I wouldn't recommend taking away from what they're doing, because they have a curriculum that they follow.
That's the hard part.
Exactly.
How do we fit this
exactly.
in? I mean,
and so that's...
I think everybody agrees with it.
Right.
But how do you fit it in?
And that's why, because drawing is a child's first form of written communication, that's why it's really important to connect at kindergarten. And I've always felt that the best way to teach art would be in their classroom, and to go to the classrooms.
So whether that's part of the English class or the science class.
And so each teacher would have to select a time that would work best for them, that doesn't interfere with their specials.
So it wouldn't be part of the specials?
It wouldn't be part of specials. I would try to not touch that, because those teachers, they've got things that they're already covering, and they do a great job, and what they're teaching is important as well. And that's why last year, when I was teaching 5th grade, we had the Renaissance unit for CKLA. And both CKLA and Eureka Math often refer to famous works of art in a lesson here and there, in several of the different lessons, and as well as integrating the social studies. Social studies can easily be integrated with an art lesson or an art movement. One of the lower grades, I believe, talks about Mesopotamia, which is known for their mosaics. I mean, very easy for an art educator, somebody who knows about art education, could easily create a lesson that links to and supports the curriculum that we already have in the district.
And that's one of the other questions. I mean, it's not just finding the time and figuring out how to fit it in without taking away what we already have.
Right.
It's also, can they do it in a way that meets the standards that you talked about?
Right.
And meets those objectives, even if it's
Exactly.
once a month?
Yeah, because, and so this is a lesson that the CKLA, especially our 5th graders last year, they struggled with that, because it was a jump. It was an academic jump for them.
Right.
And so I tried, because it was the Renaissance, which is hard to not talk about art with, and because I have a art education background and I have a teaching certificate in art education, I easily saw how I could implement that in those lessons. And so for one of the things, I took the assignment and we created a perspective lesson. I taught them about perspective, and then we added the reading details that needed to go with it. Another one, same with Renaissance, it talks about drawing realistic, and that was one of the things that the Renaissance was known for, was its realism. And so we talked about proportions, and then they filled it out. So theirs was blank, but we talked about proportions, and then they wrote the characteristics of humanism. So it went along with it to help them integrate the two things together. The CKLA and the math. If you have an art educator who knows about art, they can easily put a lesson together. And as little bit my math again, there would actually be only 56 lessons, because you'd have, if once a month, that's only nine lessons per grade level. And I would, an art educator could teach the same lesson to all the kindergarten classes, right? So that's 12 classes, 3 at 4 schools. I don't know how many kindergarten classes there are at There's 14, okay? So they teach that same lesson 14 times. Does that make sense? So each grade level, but a lesson on shapes and helping them to know that a circle can be drawn into many things. You begin at kindergarten. So there's that, what do I want to say, the development of it could easily be done. But that's what the CKLA lessons, they often say, work with your art educator in your building. And the problem is we don't have an art educator. And our teachers, they don't have time for this. They don't have the background. I was hoping there might be some art teachers here, or some classroom teachers that I could ask if any of them knew what the elements and principles of art are. Do you remember what they are, Mr. Peeper? He knows back there, because I heard he has a degree in art education. But most of them, they don't know, so they don't know how to develop it. Another thing that I did with our fifth grade class last year at the beginning of the school year, they were a tough crowd, but I could see that they loved to draw. I was constantly seeing them draw and doodle. And so the 10 minutes, 15 minutes before specials in the morning, I put up a vocabulary word from their reading in CKLA, and I chose an image that they could draw to go with that word to help them remember it, and they had to draw it. And at first, they struggled. They were just drawing stick figures or draw really quick. But as I taught them some of the elements and principles of art, taught them a little bit about proportion, reminded them to use value in their drawings, they began to own them. They had meaning, they had depth, and then I always took the best 2 or 3 and put them on the board for them to see. So that was incentive too for them. But it worked really well. And so I think, like I said, my niece, she taught at the 3 schools. The next year, it was only 2. They thought, that's a little overwhelming for her. We'll do it to 2. And now she has a teaching job at 1 school, and she has her own classroom. But I don't think, I have a cart that I take over to the nursing home when I teach. When I taught up at the rec center, I took my cart with me there. It wouldn't be hard to carry a bucket of markers from class to class. Some of the lessons there could also be done in more depth if there's probably time, because like Clark doesn't have quite as many classes, that a whole week we probably could do less than a week, but UME has a lot more classes, so they might take more than a week to reach all of them. But I think that there's still maybe once a year, especially for our older kids, of doing a more in-depth project might be able to happen. It might take a while, but I think that a full-time art educator teaching a lesson in our elementary schools and linking it with our core subjects would easily help them to have a greater appreciation of the arts and give them a greater foundation that our teachers at middle school and high school would have to spend less time on the foundations of art. They could build, and their programs would grow because of that. And
I appreciate your input, and I like the idea. I mean, I think it's something that, again, this conversation isn't over by a long shot.
Right.
So, certainly you've given the ideas to the administration, and I think what the board's looking for is sort of ways that we can do something that's, again, our priority is to make sure that we're not taking away anything.
Right. And I think 35 minutes.
But then also making it consistent so that everybody's getting the same thing. So that's sort of the overall goal for us.
Right. Because if you put it in after school enrichment, that's not going to reach everybody. It needs to be able to be uniform and consistent to reach all of the students. And I think by having an art educator in the district specific for the elementary schools is a good, viable answer for that. And so I hope I have a link.
Any ideas on where to get grant money, let them know that too.
I have a link that actually had a bunch of grants listed on there, and it talks about research, and so I will send that link to you guys so you have it, because it also has information about administrators who are considering adopting art programs.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate the input. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jared, I died again. just so you know.
That's my husband died too.
Just so you know. I died again.
We'll have a funeral later.
Constant battle. So now I have to log back on to see what's next on the agenda. Here we go. We are actually now on action items. So we have some personnel items, and thank heavens Sherry has a hard copy here because I died.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we do not have any personnel.
We don't?
Probably the first
Okay, so we don't
time-
have to approve any resignations or contracts?
No, which is a good sign. It means that we actually fulfilled all of our requirements for staff before the school started this year. So it's the first time I can ever remember September we didn't have to approve a contract. So everything is good. So move on.
Yeah, wow. Okay, then we'll go on to the next one, which is the adoption of our strategic plan that we've talked about during the discussion items. So at this point, I don't know that anybody else has any questions or we need another presentation. I think it's just a matter of making a motion to approve the strategic plan, or adopt it, I guess.
Madam Chairman, I move that we adopt and approve the strategic plan that has been presented to us.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Questions? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. We do have a first reading on policy JGD, suspension or expulsion of students.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we talked about this last month. These changes came because of legislative changes. They're really mild. So what I did is I took Copenhaver's suggestions, put them into our policy, I think made it better, and then Jeff took it and put it in language of the statute, and now I really like it. Straightforward.
It's much better.
It's about
Thank you.
suspension or expulsion of students and what we can and cannot, and then how it fits into the law. It does dovetail into our current JFC, which is our student discipline policy, student conduct, and like I said, our recommendation is you approve this at first reading.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve at first reading policy JGD/JGE? Motion by Jenny?
Second.
Second by Caleb. Any discussion or questions on the content? No, thank you for cleaning this up. I think it reads better and it has the legal references to the state statute, so that always makes me happy, so. All right, all those in favor, say aye on. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion to approve on first reading carries. Then we have the next policy, which is student discipline policy JG.
Madam Chair, members of the board, if you remember, this one came up as I was doing research for the last one, where we still had the term corporal punishment that...
Yeah, we had JGA with corporal punishment.
JGA still exists, but what it says about corporal punishment is that we don't do it. So JG referenced it and said that we do it. So we've taken that out and made it a lot clearer. So it's actually the third paragraph, and I'm going to read part of it. When positive efforts have not succeeded in correcting a student whose behavior interferes with the learning environment, the following corrective measures are authorized. School discipline in accordance with board policies.
That's where you struck out the corporal punishment.
Yeah, we took corporal punishment out of there. And suspension of the pupil in accordance with board regulations, exclusively the pupil in accordance with board regulations. So all we did is we took that it is okay to discipline according to board policy and school handbooks.
I know there's a big component out there that wants to keep that corporal punishment in, but I don't think legally we can at this point in time, so.
Yeah, me. Me too.
Yeah, these two.
That's when we were in control, not the kids.
So policy JGA is not up for vote.
Policy JGA is not up for vote. This is just to amend JG to be consistent with JGA.
And JGD.
Or JGD, yes. So we need a motion to approve policy JG on first reading.
I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you, Kay.
I did that so my wife knows I'm here.
Second. And a second by Jenny. Any further discussions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, one
We'd have some
opposed.
opposition sometime.
There you go. Motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1. Okay, there we go. Make sure I can still count. Last but not least, we have transportation approvals. George, this is you?
Madam Chair, while he's walking up here, we did talk about a annual board calendar. We do have that ready for you.
That was for me, thank you.
This is one of the items that has been there forever, so.
Okay.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this is the education reform compliance requirements that we've been doing since 1999, and very little change. I added one area under travel on private property because of the after-school program. We have a turnaround at SBRS Trucking. We did get permission from them, and it prevents us going up to further up Highway 150 if those students aren't riding. It's just to save a little time and money there. Actually, the rest of it is pretty well the same, except for, of course, isolation payment. It changes a little every year, but these people have already been notified, and we've already taken care of everything we need to do with it. So basically, it's the same old thing. Does anybody have any questions?
Is the turnaround plowed?
It's actually their parking lot, and they do keep it pretty clean. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Eric keeps it pretty dang clean there.
Mhm.
He get his trucks in and out, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
And actually, they don't really even go in there, but enough to just spin around and go back to town.
I just wondered, because when we used to go to bowling alley, once in a while it wasn't plowed.
Yeah, good with that.
Hopefully, we're doing better now, Carrie. All right, and then we need to formally adopt this, don't we?
Yes, we do. I'll leave this copy because I have to, if there's an audit, I have to have a signed copy on file at Transportation. So I'll just leave this with Sherry, and there's someone that can sign it and get it sent out to me.
All right, so we need a motion to approve the transportation plan, I think is what we're calling it, yes? Or the transportation
Compliance, board compliance.
report,
plan.
or plan. I think I'm going to call it transportation compliance plan. How's that?
TCP,
Yeah. Do we have a motion to approve the transportation compliance plan?
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the transportation compliance plan presented by George.
Second by Cassie. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, seeing none, motion
Thank you very
carries.
much.
And you can leave it with us for a signature.
We got one.
All right. We are on to board round table. Anyone?
Madam Chair, do you want to just highlight the dates of the filling the vacancy in the board?
Yes, we can do that. I know that many of you have heard that obviously Tammy Walker submitted her resignation from the board last week. We have, once the seat becomes vacant, and her letter did say that it was effective immediately, so it was vacant upon receiving the letter. We have 30 days to fill the position under state statute and under our policies. The process is that the board picks the replacement. So we have immediately, of course, submitted notice to the paper and tried to get word out there that we are accepting letters of interest to anyone who may be interested in serving on this board. We're nice people. Those letters, I think the cutoff for the receipt of those letters of interest is going to be Friday the 13th at 5 p.m. I know, bad day. It's a lucky day. 13 is a lucky number. Friday the 13th at 5 p.m., after which the board will then, I believe we're going to have a special session on this, hopefully the 17th, to interview the top 5 candidates, unless we don't get 5. And then hopefully we will convene an open session later that evening to name a replacement. And then if in fact we do get that far, that person will then take the oath of office at our next meeting, which is the first week of October. So that's sort of the process that we have to go through, and I think, or actually, we have to have them sworn in on the 24th. We have to have another special meeting because we have to swear them in within 30 days, or name them within 30 days. I
Just
can't
name
remember.
them, we don't have to swear them.
That's it, okay. Name them within 30 days, and then swear them in at the next meeting on the first week of October. So that's the plan. We have to have it named by the 24th of September. Just so you know. The other thing I was going to say, I don't know who's in charge of this, Jaren or someone else. I did hear that on the Power School app on your phones, everyone is looking for the high school football schedule on the calendar on that app, and it is not there, and I'm hearing about it. So, they want to know when the high school football games are, they want to use their app to get there, and it's not there.
We're still working on a calendar that eases all this. But we got one calendar finished, now we'll work on it.
That's Bubba, he knows.
There is one on the
what to
high
go
school,
to.
just the plain old high school website, because I pulled them all.
Right, so if I go onto the webpage and get to the high school site, then I can get, and that's what I've told people to do, but they want to do it on their app, the school district app
Has
on their
Power
phone.
School ever had schedules on there?
It might be on the district app, so I will look at that, because that should be tied to.
This is the, I think it's the.
Our school?
Yeah, so I don't
I will
know.
look at the district app and see, it should be tied to the activities schedule, so I will double check.
Just wanted to throw that out there.
If they go to our school, they can download that app, and it will be on their phones.
One app would be good, guys.
I'm just gonna give you my personal opinion. There is no way you can get every schedule, every event on one calendar. It would be something you could not read.
I agree with that. But somehow, some way, like I say, when we have these, I mean, it's just part of the communication strategy, just to figure
I
out.
think it's a quick look at, this is where you can find this information.
Right, how best to get that out there and where to look, and like I say, since everybody uses this apparently nowadays and doesn't look at a real computer even, just food for thought, so. Anybody else? All right.
I got something.
Okay, Dave has something.
I'd like to thank Mr. Lester for taking some time last week. He gave me a personal tour of the new high school internally, anyway, and I was very impressed with it, what they're doing up there. I think the kids ought to be totally excited about it. It just gives it a whole new, different look, and being in that school for a long time, the change is too bad we didn't do it sooner. The seminar room, all that open space now is just
Being
very
able to go to
well-
the bathroom
right.
upstairs is huge.
Right, to move some doors, anyway, it was very well thought out. I just wanted to thank him for his time.
Madam Chair, I know this is board roundtable, but I just wanted to express appreciation to Mrs. Walker. She's a very conscientious board member, worked hard for her constituents and always reflected what they thought. And I'm sad to see her leave and wish her well in her new endeavors. Oh, and we do have a plaque for her from the board. We'll get to her.
So hopefully we can bring her back at the next meeting and give her a plaque.
That would be great. Make her stay till after executive session.
She's going to have to come back, even if she's already moved, she's going to have to come back. Hear that, Tammy?
Put a blast on
Yeah, I think we would all echo that sentiment.
Right, we would.
She will be greatly missed, and
Right.
we look forward to seeing who else is interested, so. All right, with that, I believe we are ready for a motion to reconvene in executive session.
Madam Chair, there will be no business afterwards, and this is for real estate.
And this is for real estate, okay. Do we have a motion to reconvene an executive session for discussion of property acquisition?
So moved.
Second. Okay, I'm gonna go with Kay and Cassie, how's that? Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, seeing none, thank you guys very much. Look at that.
So does
How-
that mean
Does it?
I go back to?
Right?
We'll come back to adjourn, but
Yeah, we'll have
I
to come
wouldn't
back
keep the
just to
system
say
on.
we're dismissed, but we're, yeah. You can shut off the cameras.
You'll know.
Right now, the landlord just.
Are we going in there or staying?
No, we're gonna go in there.
High school.